What do we mean by, sir, insurtech as such, and what is the status of insurtech in Indian condition? And you did not confine only to India; it can even be the global terms. So, Anirban, starting with you, maybe we can have 2.5 to 3 minutes for the first round, and then maybe 5 minutes in the second round. So, starting with you, Anirban ji.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manoj, and welcome all. I appreciate being here in front of you all. Thank you so much. About InsurTech, and before going on to InsurTech, I just want to elaborate a different concept altogether. I redial back into InsurTech. This theory has been getting currency over the last couple of years. It's called jobs below the API and above the API. Now, what do I mean by below the API? For example, if you are working in Uber, you are above the API. But if you are an Uber driver, you are below the API. Now, this kind of thought process got into what kind of industry was it in? Was it more of a below the API industry or more above the API industry? But with the changes, and especially with recent times, it has said that what kind of organization is it? Is it operating more above the API and below the, or more below the API? And I'll redial back to this concept in InsurTech. See, InsurTech, when we generally loosely use the term, but it's actually a spectrum. It is a very diverse process, and many of the InsurTech phenomenon is actually may have been developed for other industries. It's been imbibed in insurance. We'd still call it InsurTech for simplicity's sake. Now, if you see if the InsurTech, it's kind of divided primarily into three zones. The first one is where a company tries to enhance the processes, the cost efficiencies, other efficiencies, and try to pass it on to the customer, which brings on to the second point. What are the different value additions that InsurTech can bring to the customer? And the third part is the distribution reach, the sales processes, the expansion of the industry through various new products, which is the third spectrum. Now, if you look at the adoption process, it's still scratching the three separately as of now, because InsurTech is a very technology in that extent has probably invaded other industries slightly more. So you will see that the customer processes, the internal processes, and the distribution reach has all been taken separately and at various levels of according to the evolution of the company in the technology sphere. What is still to be seen as of now is all the three combining into a strategic phenomenon. As in it becomes a culture. And as we say that culture eats strategy for breakfast every morning. So when all the three gets together, you will get to see the critical mass where technology becomes a culture of buying, selling, running a company. Now, will that happen in one day? Probably not. One of the very important reasons that happens is primarily the insurance industry is an immigrant to technology. The people are immigrants to technology, not natives. Now, as we see the immigrants figuring out more and more about the land and the natives coming and taking their share in the pie, the pieces will grow by itself, as well as the connecting the dots to the pieces will also happen.